Now, we got to begin with the judges. I want to give you three headlines, all of them from the New York Times. Headline number one, judges fear for their safety amid a wave of threats. Headline number two, how Trump is trying to consolidate power over courts, Congress, and more. Headline number three, Trump's judicial defiance is new to the autocrat playbook, experts say. Experts say a lot of times, and progressives love to trot out any expert who will disagree with Donald Trump. I distinctly remember a bunch of intelligence foreign policy experts telling us that Hunter Biden's laptop wasn't a real thing. I gotta say something here. You gotta listen to the whole thing. When Joe Biden was president of the United States, a man attempted to assassinate Brett Kavanaugh. This came after the end of Roe v. Wade and the Dobbs versus Jackson women's health case. The man attempted to assassinate Brett Kavanaugh. There is a federal law on the books. The federal law prohibits protests outside the homes of federal judges, not as a matter of free speech. It's a matter of intimidating the judges. So it is a perfectly constitutional law. You do not want protesters in private neighborhoods harassing federal judges with matters before those judges as a way to intimidate the judicial system. Merrick Garland and the Biden Justice Department did nothing. It took a man attempting to assassinate Brett Kavanaugh for them to actually maybe consider we should do something different, and still they didn't stop the protesters who were increasingly antagonistic outside the homes of conservative Supreme Court justices. Instead, what the left did was try to systematically undermine the Supreme Court and claim that the Supreme Court was somehow corrupted by the presence of Sam Alito, whose wife flew an upside-down American flag. And notice just a few weeks ago, federal employees hoisted an upside-down American flag at El Capitan at Yosemite. And no, this was heroic. The federal employees hoisting the flag upside down was heroic. Sam Alito's wife putting one on their flagpole was actually a sign that Sam Alito needed to be fired from the Supreme Court. Justice Thomas having wealthy friends who take him on trips, just terrible corruption. He needs to go. Here is the bottom line, and I'll just get this out of the way. You people on the left who are complaining about threats to judges, it's been going on for some time, and you did not care a single little bit about it as long as it was happening to conservative judges. So guess what? Because you didn't care, surprise, a lot of people on the right don't care now that it's happening to your judges in lower courts. If you want to be intellectually honest and consistent, you should be, but you guys don't want to be. You're only upset with progressive judges getting threatened. And so guess what? A large segment of this population says, well, that's political opportunism on their side, so I'm not going to really care. It's like January 6th. I had some neurotic white woman come after me on social media last night for playing down January 6th. Oh, January 6th, the worst thing ever. You people did not say jack when America was being burned down by progressive activists in the summer of 2020, but you're all butthurt over January 6th when the summer riot season of 2020 caused more economic damage to the United States than what happened on January 6th. Oh, but it was democracy. It's a threat to democracy. It was small businesses across America being burned down in the summer of 2020, and you didn't care about your neighbors. And so guess what? Donald Trump won the popular vote. But January 6th, nobody gives a damn about January 6th. They give a damn about the economy and inflation and their families and their lives, and you chose not to care about them, but now you're upset about illegal aliens being deported. Oh, the horror of the illegal aliens, but screw the neighbor who lost his job in Biden's economy because CNN told you it's the best economy ever. I'm sorry, but a lot of people aren't going to care that you're upset now about people being deported from the country because you chose to keep your mouth shut when it was the other side. You know who David Delaney is? If you're progressive, I bet you don't know who David Delaney is. David Delaney exposed the horrors of Planned Parenthood in California. You know what? They prosecuted him for it. He's an undercover reporter, and they prosecuted him for exposing the harvesting and selling of body parts. and you didn't care. You're a pro-choice person, and so you said nothing. And now you're upset about Donald Trump harassing reporters? Well, maybe you should have cared then. And then there's the doctor in Austin, Texas, whose name escapes me all of a sudden, who was a whistleblower. He was a whistleblower who exposed that in Texas, a hospital system prohibited by law from doing so was performing trans operations on minors and giving out trans drugs so that minors, people under the age of 18, could transition. The state said no, the hospital did it. He blew the whistle, and the Biden administration prosecuted him. In fact, the lead prosecutor was recused from the case because she didn't have a law license, and yet they went after this guy anyway. And you people on the left said nothing. You were silent time and time again, and now you want everyone to stand up and be outraged with you over threats to judges? Well, you should have done it then. Maybe you're learning your lesson. I myself, my friends, wrote a piece today on anti-Semitism. And I highlighted people on the right who are elevating anti-Semites, from Tucker Carlson to Candace Owens to people at Turning Point USA. And I've had multiple people say, oh, you're both sidesing it, Erickson. No, I believe anti-Semitism is bad. And when it happens on my side, I should speak out. And I criticized the people who stormed into the Capitol and damaged property on January 6th. And I criticized people who were burning up America in 2020. And I will just note the abundant silence of people on the left during the summer riot season of 2020. In fact, the willing justifications of it on news networks like CNN, where it was fiery but mostly peaceful. I just have a hard time listening to these neurotic white women of the left scream, January 6th, January 6th, when you didn't say jack about those riots. You didn't say jack about kids being shut out of schools. In fact, you want kids to still be masked up and not in school to stop the spread of COVID. You were fine with 15 days to stop the spread, and so was I. But then you were fine with 365 days to stop the spread. And when I wasn't, you thought I was a bad person. So pardon me, you'll have to forgive me for not being worked up about people on the right who just refuse to speak out now, because you had many opportunities to say this is not good when Joe Biden was president, when the Democrats were in charge, and you couldn't lift a finger to show justice and mercy to the people opposite you. You did not care they were rounding up grandmothers in wheelchairs and throwing them in the jail for praying outside abortion clinics. So why do you think people on the right are going to be upset now that they're deporting illegal aliens tied to gangs? You did not care one whit when they were rounding up a journalist and throwing him in jail and prosecuting him for exposing Planned Parenthood. So why should we care now with journalists across America getting harassed who are on the left? You didn't care a bit when they were harassing Supreme Court justices and attempting to assassinate Brett Kavanaugh, and now you're upset about lower court judges. Guess what? Nobody cares because you didn't care. You started it. Precedents matter. I say it all the time. Precedents matter. I'm probably the only person in conservative talk radio willing to criticize my own side on a regular basis, but you'll have to forgive me for being uninterested at this point to placate the desires of neurotic, crazy white women on the left who think that everybody's got to stand up and pound their chests over things that they are outraged about. When other people get outraged about things, they try to find ways to defend it. You want me to stand up and be outraged about gangbangers from Venezuela being deported from the country without due process? Well, you know what? You should have said something sooner when it wasn't on your side. Do I think that Donald Trump could possibly move so fast it blows up in his face? Yeah, you know, they tried to deport a guy in Chicago who turned out to be an American citizen. He's going to sue and get a lot of money now. But the neurotic white woman last night, she's like, they deported a child with cancer because her parents were illegal aliens. It's like, what? You think they should have separated her from the parents? They kept the family together. Yeah, do I think Trump could have replaced him? Yeah, there's a story out today. It appears that someone with legitimate need for asylum in this country from Venezuela might have, without due process, despite his asylum claim pending, been thrown in jail in El Salvador and got out of this country. That's going to be a problem for Donald Trump. They can move so fast, they risk undermining themselves with the American people. But you know what? The data shows right now the American people are fine with Doge. The American people are fine with the deportations, and the American people don't much care that they've moved too fast and have been overbroad who they've deported. And why should they be? Because for 4 years, you people on the left said there was nothing Joe Biden could do about it. You had to have a law change, and now Donald Trump got to be president and proved you've been lying the whole time. You lied for 4 years. Why should the American people be on your side now? You lied about Joe Biden's cognitive abilities. You defended Kamala Harris. And now suddenly you're outraged about something, and suddenly outraged that people on the right aren't outraged with you. Why the hell should we be, given the 4 years we've just gone through where you were rounding up grandmothers and throwing them in jail for praying at abortion clinics, rounding up whistleblowers who exposed trans clinics that weren't supposed to operate, and you prosecuted them, rounded up reporters and tried to prosecute them for exposing Planned Parenthood, rounded up American citizens and threw them in jail. Oh, but January 6th, but the summer of 2020, you didn't care about that either. This is what happens when you lose your moral and intellectual honesty. It turns out people stop caring about your issues. They stop caring about what you think they should be outraged about because you weren't outraged. You showed no empathy or sympathy to the other side, and now you demand we show you sympathy and empathy? Have a guy I follow on Facebook who's like, these people are Christians. They're supporting all this stuff. You know what? You're not a Christian. Spare me your interpretation of what Jesus would or would not do until you embrace him as your Lord and Savior. Spare me your interpretation of, oh, you Christians. I put a comment up on Facebook yesterday where I said, you know and I know someone out there is upset those astronauts made it home safe so they can't say Elon Musk got blood on his hands. He's like, you call yourself a Christian. What would Jesus say about this? It's like, well, I got a good relationship with him. You don't even think he's real, so shut up. People on the left, if you want people on the right to care about these things, you should have shown the decency to be concerned about the safety and the lives of Supreme Court justices. Instead, you tried to discredit the Supreme Court. If you want people to care about the illegal aliens being rounded up and sent out of the country without due process, and possibly some people getting tripped up in the system who shouldn't have been there, you had plenty of opportunities to care yourself, and you chose not to. So you will forgive me for not being worked up about a bunch of Americans caring what you want them to care about when you had plenty of opportunities to show justice, fairness, grace, and mercy for 4 years, and you chose not to. This is turnabout. Whether it's fair or not doesn't matter. It's turnabout. You're experiencing what you did to others now, and you don't like it. You neurotic white women of the left screaming online about your outrage of the day, much of which is wrong. Maybe you should actually get your facts right and turn off MSNBC. I literally had a woman yesterday say he's rounding up and deporting the people who voted for him. Only citizens of the United States can vote for president, and citizens of the United States cannot be deported, so maybe you really should get your facts elsewhere. You want people on the right to care when bad things happen to your side. Maybe you should show the common courtesy of reciprocating, and you had 4 years to do it, and it fell on deaf ears, so I'm sorry. You think January 6th was the worst thing ever? I actually think the summer riots of 2020, excused by you and the press, was even worse. And you won't even say anything about it other than to get defensive. The throne of democracy, the temple of democracy. You know what? The United States across the board is a democracy. And when your neighbor's stores were being burned down, you tried to justify it.